I was such a nerd. And,
hey, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's right. We're on Nerdist. I was such a nerd.
This movie kicks off obviously telling things in reverse, and it kicks off with a world-ending event. Let's say that happens tomorrow. How well would you handle the end of the world?
Great question.
I ask myself that every day. I think my wish for myself is that I would handle it a fraction as well as I think Charles Krantz does in this, and that I would have the courage to take a moment and seize it as completely as he does before he knows the world is.
Yes.
And I think that's the challenge of it, is to live every day, regardless of whether you think it's about to end or not, and be able to give yourself over to joy and connection. I hope I would meet it that way.
Yeah. I don't know if I can do better than that as an answer. I think I would probably do what Marty and Felicia do in this film, which is, if I could, I would rush to the people I love and the people who matter and tell them I love them before it's too late. I mean, I think that's the message is none of us know when the world's gonna end. None of us know the day or the date that our lives will end. It could be tomorrow, it could be in 40 years' time. But because you don't know, don't leave it too late. Live now. Now is all we have, and the accumulation of our nows will be our legacy, I suppose. A very wise man once said to me, "The only meaning in life is to reside as a good object in the minds of others. You hope that when the world comes to an end, that's what you've left behind."
Well, my kids and my husband are in the other room, and I would just be with them. I would just sit and be with them. Maybe cook something. I don't know.
Final meal. What is it? What are we talking here?
I would probably, I don't know. They'd probably want like a really good lamb roast or something.
Before shooting this film, I would have thought that I would be like, I'm going to do all these things I've been too scared to do, like run around doing weird stuff. But actually, I think it would be pretty similar to my character of just finding the people that matter the most to me, reaching out to them, and just wanting to feel connected in the final moments, because I think when you really imagine that, it's like everything else falls away, all the material possessions and the accolades that people become obsessed with, and it's about being with the people that you love.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. That I actually think I would react in a similar way to Marty does, that it's sort of this kind of very sort of pragmatic approach to it all. I feel like once you're stripped of everything, that's what you're left with, is those human connections, and the people, and the things that you felt, as opposed to the things that you have or that you've seen even.
When you were approached or heard about the project, being Mike Flanagan, who's known for horror, adapting a Stephen King novella, how scary were you expecting it? And what was your take on the existential introspection that ended up taking place?
Well, I heard about it from Mike because I knew him socially, and he was so passionate about it. And he described it as the story he wanted to make for his children. And I actually know his children, and he's an amazing father. And he and Kate they're just stunning. So I knew that it was not going to be in the horror, Mike Flanagan horror genre necessarily, but being Stephen King, of course, I knew there'd be some kind of supernatural element.
This movie is incredibly introspective, and if we were to live our lives in reverse from this moment, knowing everything we know now, going back and reliving the life we've already lived, what is a part of your life that you'd be excited to relive with all this information?
High school. I was such a nerd. And
hey, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's right. We're on Nerdist. I was such a nerd. But I was just so scared of everything. And even now at this age, I'm like, you should have just had a bit more fun. I think that's what I will probably say on my deathbed is, why didn't you enjoy yourself a little bit more? And so I would go back, now that I'm a little bit more confident, and just look people in the actual eye and not walk around like this,
That's a tall girl problem, though.
Yeah, totally.
As a 5'11", I know we had to.
We just take up as little space as possible.
Oh, I think I'd be excited to revisit probably when I was 15 or 16, because I think I had no idea how lucky I was, none at all. And I think that would be wonderful to be a little bit, maybe just slightly aware of how lucky I was. And to just live more in my actual life rather than I was a very dreamy child. I often look back and I don't know if I remember what actually happened. I remember what I was daydreaming about,
Every period of my life, in a way, has had its great things and its complications, So I don't know. I don't feel like there's any one particular place that I would be like, well, this was uncomplicated. Do you know what I mean? Like, this period was like, So I feel like you're just trying to accumulate all of this information and move into that next part with that, just really capturing it properly, or seeing if you can hold all of these different things in your life and balance it well. I don't know if it's ever possible, really.
I'm hearing you completely, but the fact that high school wasn't your immediate answer just shows that you were actually competent and popular in high school. So
I was quite popular in high school, yeah.
Ugh, I'm so jealous.
Did you learn anything about Stephen King in a way that you hadn't learnt before? I mean, his work has been around for decades. Was there something exploring this novella that you discovered?
No, I don't. I mean, I know that it's not horror, but I think that it's not unlike, I think his exploration of like humanity in all forms and all situations. And I was saying before, Stephen King is a world builder, and to the point, like you say Stephen King and people have all these ideas and all these images from the vast work that he's made. And that's sort of what the story is about, isn't it? That each and every one of us is like a Stephen King. We all have stories and universes and worlds in our minds, and we're not aware of it walking around all the time, but we all have that. And so every time I'm looking at you, you have, look at all those books, look at you. You have worlds and worlds, that I'll never be able to know. But isn't that amazing, just to try and know just a little bit or be aware of that in ourselves?
I actually want to compare how Chuck's life ended with technically like the end of Loki's story. Who do you think had the richer ending?
Wow. They're quite different endings, I think, and quite different lives. I would say Chuck would do very well on that chair at the end of time, I'm sure. I think there's something very bittersweet and I found very emotional about Loki's redemption, which is that finally he rediscovers for himself the purpose he has been seeking all his life, which is to give his life so that others can live and they can have their time. The sadness in that moment, or the bittersweetness, is created by the fact that he's alone. Like, finally, he does the right thing, and he is motivated solely by love for his friends and for his chosen family. But he's ultimately alone. I think Chuck has the great good fortune and privilege of being surrounded by the people he loves, by his wife and by his son, and that in that moment of the end, they are with him, holding his hand, and he leaves the world bathed in love. And for that, he's a rich man. I
work for Nerdist, so I would like to ask the question, what is it that you nerd out about?
Crime fiction. I'm a crime fiction addict. Yeah, I'm like, literally, I read more crime fiction. And if you ask me what I like, I can't even tell you, because I've read like all of like Nero Wolfe. I read all of everything. But at the moment, I'm just really into like British crime. So like all of Josephine Tey, I just read all of everything. I'm like a total crime nerd.